Wandavision was one of the most complicated concepts we've seen in the MCU, so it's no surprise it was challenging to film. We're taking a look at 20 of the hurdles they had to tackle. Number 1. It's not funny, Elizabeth. Paul Bettany, while in his 3-layer thick Vision makeup, dripped purple snot on Elizabeth Olsen while they were filming a kissing scene, and Olsen kinda made a joke about it. Henceforth, for some reason, Paul thinks that Elizabeth should be called Snotter. Elizabeth Snotter Olsen, as I think we can all agree to call her. Number 2. While we're on the subject of purple paint, Paul's makeup in those black and white shots was difficult to get right. Red doesn't look like red once you take the color away, but for some reason blue does. So they leaned away from the red hues and into the blue, and that's why Bettany looked like a blueberry for filming. Their inspiration came from the actual black and white sitcoms of the time, where they used to use blue lipstick on the actors.
Because red was so dark, it didn't film like you wanted it to.
They tested many different shades and sheens of blue. Number 3. Playing with paint hues wasn't the only practical effect. To get that accurate 50s feel, they opted to use practical levitating effects, which included lots of strings to puppeteer flying objects around Wanda. The crew were crouched under the island, and in the refrigerator. If you could put a camera behind there would be a ton of crew just trying to stay out of the way. Olsen found the use of these practical effects hilarious because she's used to the big pyrotechnics and huge stunts, and now it was just complicated to get a cloth to dance around on the strings.
It was just so funny to watch.
Number 4, and now for humans on strings. No stunt can be perfectly 100% safe, except for maybe washing the dishes. And while Wandavision didn't have much hand-to-hand combat, they did have a ton of long flying shots on rigs. But we can't say the actors didn't enjoy themselves. Olsen isn't a fan of thrill rides like roller coasters, but she loves a good flying stunt. But all this hanging about just looks super uncomfortable to us. Number 5. Bettany spent a lot of time in the air fighting the guest appearance he teased to the world. He'd said he was thrilled to be working with an actor that he respected, and that he was proud of the hard work they'd done together. That actor was, of course, himself. He trolled the entire world, but he still did good work. We won't discount it. And having an authentic fight with yourself is hard. Just ask Captain America. Number 6. Of course, it takes a ton of editing to put 2 Bettanys on the screen at the same time. But did you know there was more CGI in WandaVision than in Endgame? Given the show has 8-hour-long episodes and Endgame is only 3 hours, perhaps that's reasonable. But we can cut that down to 7 hours of CGI because almost every effect used in the first episode was done practically. Number 7. Except for the choking scene. This was the first glimpse we had into WandaVision, that not everything was as it seems. The scene was incredibly fun for Deborah Jo Rupp, but also difficult to do. She kept asking, "Wait, what? You want me to do what? No, I don't get it. Wait, what?" It also broke out of the sitcom style with the moment Vision reaches into the throat of Mr. Hart and stops him from choking. They had a live audience for this scene, and one thing you just can't do is break the fourth wall, because there's not a fourth wall to break. And yet, for just a moment, there is, when we get a glimpse of Paul's face. Number 8, and the live audience was a different experience for the cast.
It feels very different, and you have to swing for the fences.
As Jess Hall put it, as if things weren't complicated enough, now you're doing a 26-minute single take in front of a live audience effectively. Essentially, filmed theater.
It was filmed in front of a live audience, which was just bananas.
Number 9. While Olsen wasn't going so far as to slip on banana peels for the laugh, she did manage to take it too far once. She turned a double take into a triple take, which is when the director finally said, "That's it. I've had enough. You've gone too far, Elizabeth." A triple take? What a ridiculous concept. Elizabeth was proud to have that moment, to have finally earned her "That's Too Much" badge. Number 10. And in the realm of things being just too much, Kat Dennings avoided a close call when she'd spoken up about just recovering from an injury to her foot that left her in a boot. Uncertain she could do a run across a field, she said, "Here's the thing. I'll do it. I can't guarantee my ankle will make it to tomorrow." So they brought in a stunt person to do it for her. Number 11. You know who didn't think they'd ever be brought in again? Paul Bettany. He went through a stressful experience walking into the studio thinking it was the end. You know, due to his character being finished off in Endgame, only to find out about the new show. Number 12. He wasn't the only one feeling weird energy coming into the show. Elizabeth was used to being able to dissolve into an ensemble in the movies. To hear about Wandavision, she was excited about the prospect of it, but intimidated to be taking up so much screen time. Number 13. No reason to fear when Dick Van Dyke is here. He was brought in to assist them through sitcom bootcamp. Every decade of Wandavision brought in new challenges for the actors, as quite literally, everything changed. Their speech, rhythm, postures, movement, and language all took a lot of work to perfect for each era of TV. Olsen clarified that it isn't specific to the time, it's specific to the sitcoms of the time. In the 70s, there was a relaxation of women and their behavior on TV, which changed everything for her character. Number 14. Except for that moment where she had to go back in time as Scarlet Witch. When she first landed the job, Olsen was promised she would never need to wear the original costume. And that promise was broken. However, given she looked better than Bettany, there were no complaints from her. Number 15. It's not easy being Bettany. He had an incredibly long makeup process, which they managed to work down for the TV show, or they never would have gotten anything accomplished. 10 hours into costume, 8 hours out? Not possible for WandaVision. Number 16. Another near impossibility was crafting up witch runes. Trying to get the look of the runes just right was taxing on the artists because their first attempt looked just too similar to the Wakandan alphabet and not witchy enough. Number 17. And what struggles might Catherine Hahn have playing a witch? The shooting for Agatha All Along had to be planned well in advance because it would have been a nightmare to return to all these locations for 3-second clips. So at the end of filming each decade, they would grab the shots they needed. Number 18. Jumping from decade to decade may have been impressive, but it wasn't the most impressive thing. Bettany and Olsen's standout moments happened when they were just together, connecting and sparkling. The goodbye was a heartbreaking scene, and a tough one, emotionally, so said director Matt Shackman. So they gave themselves a lot of extra time to film it because it was tricky to pull off. Number 19. What was tricky for everyone was coming up with the perfect words to describe the importance of grief. They landed on, what is grief if not love persevering? Thanks to a final line tweak from Paul Bettany. The other struggle with this scene was having Vision come off sympathetic and not preachy. Number 20. It wasn't hard for Paul to sympathize with Wanda's experience. He tragically lost his brother to a car crash, which helped him connect to the show's message and bring a more authentic understanding and performance. WandaVision is worth a rewatch. If you're considering it, now is a great time with Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness in theaters. Did WandaVision bring out the nostalgia in you? What sitcoms were you watching on TV that it reminded you of? Let us know in the comments, and thanks for hanging out with us here at The Things.